Intro to API authentication, why it matters. When you start working with real-world APIs, you'll quickly discover that most production APIs are protected. This security measure is crucial for controlling access to data and functionalities. What happens without authentication? If you try to access a protected API without valid authentication, you'll typically encounter HTTP error codes. 401 unauthorized. This indicates that the request lacks valid authentication credentials. The server understood your request but requires authentication. 403 forbidden. This means the server understood the request, but it refuses to authorize it. Even if authentication credentials were provided, the user might not have the necessary permissions to access that specific resource. Common types of API authentication. Understanding the different authentication types is essential for testing and interacting with secure APIs. 1. No auth. Open APIs. These are APIs that do not require any authentication. They are typically used for public data that doesn't need to be restricted, e.g., public weather data, open source project data. While convenient for public access, they are rare for sensitive data. 2. Basic auth, username/password. This is one of the simplest forms of authentication. You provide a username and password, which are typically base 64 encoded, and sent in the authorization header of your HTTP request. It's straightforward but less secure, as credentials can be easily decoded if not transmitted over HTTPS. 3. Bearer token, most used today. This is a very common and widely used method. After a successful login or authentication process, the client receives a unique bearer token, often a JWT JSON web token. This token is then included in the authorization header of subsequent requests, usually in the format authorization, bearer less than token greater than. It signifies that the bearer of the token is authorized. 4. OAuth 2.0 Google Facebook logins. OAuth 2.0 is an authorization framework that allows third-party applications to obtain limited access to a user's resources on an HTTP service, like Google, Facebook, or GitHub. Instead of sharing your password with a third-party app, you grant it permission to access specific data on your behalf. This is what's behind login with Google or login with Facebook buttons. It involves multiple steps, authorization codes, access tokens, refresh tokens, and is more complex but highly secure. Important tip for testers. If you hit an API and immediately receive a 401 unauthorized error, your first step should be to ask the developer for the required authentication method and a valid token/credentials. Remember, real-world APIs are secure by design. Authentication is not just a feature, it's a fundamental requirement to protect data and control access.